So, hey everybody, Monday night grid work, very informal. So many things happening in the world, in space, all over the place. I was just about to say, speaking of dragons, because it is Justin's birthday, so happy birthday, Justin, formally, officially with all the patrons. Um, I'm pulling a few dragon cards for him for his birthday, and it made me think of one of the things I wanted to talk about, which is the Tonga eruption that we had. Very powerful. Obviously, you know that, but one of the things that it had, one of the temporary effects that it has had, is that it doubled the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So that's a big bunch of stuff. And I was thinking, when I read that earlier, I thought to myself, all right, well, as one of our, I think I'm going to start doing this every week, and I'll put up a post about it as well with a little more detail, but just like a grid work intention for the week. And I mean, right now it's kind of like, which thing do we pick? But I think in light of everything going on, calling in some air dragons and asking them to assist in helping to clean the atmosphere and redistribute that extra batch of greenhouse gases between all of us, that would be a nice way to assist. So dragons for Justin. If I pull air dragons, I'm going to laugh so hard. Earth dragon. Clears your path and the land around you. Stay grounded. Be ready to serve. Stuck energy is clearing. You can move forward in life. So you've really got it figured out right now. Got it going on. And then Rainbow Dragon brings the leap of joy that opens new doors. Have trust. Rediscover wisdom. Expect miracles. Accept opportunities, which I know you have been. Going to go be on soul sessions and do all of that awesome stuff. So I will send you those cards after we get off of here. So air dragons. Pretty simple. What I do when I am thinking about using dragon energy for grid work is I am thinking about the specific dragons that will most help with what I'm trying to do. So air dragons, what I do is with my breathing, as I'm meditating, as I'm thinking about the air dragons, I ask them, I call them in, ask them for help clearing our atmosphere for Gaia of excess carbon dioxide. And so for me, what that means is that I'm breathing in that source energy and generating that energy flow, and seeing and asking the air dragons that when they exhale, when they breathe out their fire, that it's oxygen, that they are breathing out oxygen into the atmosphere. The sun has been mushugana. We got a little break for about 24 hours, and thankfully the really, really big sunspot group that they thought was going to be a bigger player looks like maybe it's not. I'm hoping that's true, although as soon as they said that and we had a little bit of calm, a C flare went off, a C3. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, because I don't think I've explained this thoroughly before, probably. And I mean, some of you probably already know this or assume it, but a lot of you may not. So to break down specifically what we can monitor, what we can't, how we figure out what is happening when a solar flare goes off. We have the Earth-facing disk of the sun, and then we have the far side disk of the sun. The way the spacecraft and satellites and such are stationed, we have an actual view that monitors the X-ray emissions. That's why in that graph that you see that shows the spikes of the flares, it says GOES X-ray flux. And that is because the GOES satellite is measuring the X-ray flux. But it can't do that for the stuff on the other side of the sun. So that's why sometimes there will be evidence of a large eruption, but they can't really say for sure whether it was a C class or an M class or an X class. And this particular cluster has been popping off some very large flares. There is a magnificent eruption on the far side last week-ish. And so it's more of an estimate. And so what they do is they use something called helioseismology to come up with like a heat image of what they think is happening on the other side of the sun. So they can't always predict that exactly. Then if you consider that as the sun is rotating, you know, part of it is rotating away and then part of it is rotating to us. So if anything on either of those edges pops off, again, we may not have an exact measurement of what the intensity of the flare is. But what I know is that everyone that I talk to who is solar sensitive, they are becoming as reliable as a Timex watch, as far as a lot of times they, and also I know before it even really shows up on the coronagraph or anything, that the sun has gone off. The other kind of monitoring we have is there is something over the top of the sun, and so that's what you see when you see those coronagraphs where you can see the back and the front of the sun. So when you're looking at that image, anything happening on the right is coming potentially towards Earth, and anything on the left is not. However, I have noticed, and I'm fairly certain that they're aware of this, that it has a little bit more of an effect on people physically than they're letting on. And I'm not saying that this is like some big government conspiracy necessarily. I just think it's kind of one of those things where it's like, what is the benefit of telling people that there's this thing happening that they have zero control over, that could be harmful? But I've been doing a lot further reading about solar effects and some of the potential negative effects. And, you know, older people are definitely at a much higher risk of having cardiac events, strokes, those kinds of things when we're having solar flares and when we're having big geomagnetic storms. So those who seem to be very sensitive when they go off, I believe that, you know what I mean? I believe that they are feeling something. Because even when it does go off on the other side of the sun, like that extremely large eruption that we had, I felt it like a blast of hot air in my face. It was pretty wild. For me, the sun, like the hum of it, it sounds a bit like a truck that is idling, or like a distant train on the tracks, or you know, that sort of a noise. But I'll like open the window or go outside, and I'm just gonna if you don't mind, Justin, I'm gonna if you could shut your camera off for me, that way I'm not trying to pay attention to you as well, because I'll get distracted. Thank you. So it will sound like there, like I said, there's a truck running, or there's trains somewhere, and I will, you know, open a window, I'll go outside, there's no noise. And I know it's not coming from my house either, because I have heard this when I've gone to Denver and other places. It's something that seems to be in here and follows me around, which is a very strange feeling. I have been trying to communicate with that consciousness more, definitely working on it. The biggest thing I can see for the potential of having this sensitivity and knowing when the sun goes off is so that should we at some point in the future have larger events more frequently for a while and were to say lose our instrumentation, that we would be able to know it was happening. I don't know if you all saw the stuff about Trinidad, but last week they lost power entirely. The entire power grid of the island went down, which happened the day after that really big flare on the far side of the sun. So even though it was on the far side, it created enough of a radio wave blast that it managed to do a radio blackout over South America, and Trinidad is only, I think Serafina said 7 miles from South America. So it took out their entire power grid. They lost water delivery, security. Like, it was the way she described it, it was quite something. And then also we weren't able to record, of course, our episode on Wednesday that we usually do for Meow Podcast. We did do a live Saturday morning, and she does talk about some of that experience. And that is exactly what I have been gently, without scaring people, trying to prepare people for, is that it's not like the old days where the power's out for a couple of hours and maybe you light some candles and play Monopoly and eat what's frozen in the fridge or whatever, and then everything's fine, right? We are much more dependent on electricity and power, and everything that's municipal runs off of electricity, basically. So if a large section of power grid goes down in your area, you lose access to a lot of resources for an indeterminate amount of time. It just depends on what's damaged and how long it's going to take them to fix it. So that's why I've been stressing the emergency preparedness thing. But it also shows me that if a far side eruption can take out a power grid, then it can also make people feel like crap too, you know? So I'm not at all saying that NASA and NOAA don't know what they're doing, because they certainly know better than I do. But I do feel like there's a certain amount of gatekeeping of information to maintain calm in the world. And the funny part about it is like, this is really nothing to be that afraid of. It's the way the solar cycle goes, the 10, or well, technically 11, the 11, the 100-year, the 1,000-year, the 10,000-year. We happen to be probably in like a combination of a 10,000-year cycle and possibly another. But we're not talking, even if we had a very big event, it's still not going to take out power in the entire world. So it does make me wonder why they're not being a little more forthcoming with that. Let's talk spiritual conditions the last few weeks. I know I've been talking to you guys about how this period of time between the 2nd and the 22nd, there's a lot of clearing, there's a lot of processing. I have seen people doing hyperspeed growth, like things come up and processes or integrations, shadow work, all of those things that would normally take a much longer period of time, weeks, maybe even months, are happening in a matter of days. I have personally experienced it myself. So if you're going through any of that, just know that you are not alone. and everybody else is too. And you're all amazing for your ability to ride out this energy and also to be aware of all these geospatial effects, because um, it can be a lot sometimes to think about, and it can be a lot to focus on. But I just want to remind everyone that um, when I put out those grid work alerts, the biggest thing is to just expand out your own love sphere, expand out your unconditional love, and connect with Gaia. And as a result of that, you wind up helping the effort with the grid and protecting the crystalline grid and protecting humanity. And it doesn't have to be this big Herculean effort. Just your normal meditation, a few minutes once a day, is a substantial amount of infusion of unconditional love into that crystalline grid, which makes it stronger and more powerful. It's a bold claim, but I feel like there are so many different people, because I'm not the only one talking about this stuff now. At first, there was like me and one other person, and as happens, word starts to spread and people start to pay attention. They're like, oh wow, these people are talking about that. Maybe that is something cool I want to be interested in. Since the Tonga eruption let off all that pressure, the Schumann's been fairly calm, and more and more people are focused on this and focused on, in one way or another, sort of being like shock absorbers on the grid. I feel like it's starting to have less of an effect, less of a negative effect on people. People who are not necessarily aware of higher consciousness, they may have a certain amount of agitation or whatnot. The most frustrating part about it, or the potentially grief-inducing part about it, is the older folks who are physically affected when it's very strong. But I feel like what all of us are doing, this collective effort that is happening around the world, this infusion of love and protection energy into the crystalline grid, is helping to keep people safer. For instance, just this Trinidad thing that happened last week, that had the potential to turn really bad. Serafina was talking about that in the live, about the potential for crime waves and people to take advantage of there being no power, no security, no nothing, no communications. But there were no issues. Everybody just kind of waited patiently for stuff to come back online. So that in itself, to me, tells me that the human collective is shifting, and that these things that we're doing make a difference. They really do make a difference. So right now, as we're going through all of this chaotic transformation, both on a personal level and on a global level, one of the best things you can do is to keep focusing on being in your own space, in your own energy, looking within for your discernment, your guidance, your choices, your decision making, and just let this tornado of chaos spin around you and you be the eye of that storm. That will help you to get the most out of this period that you can, and also help anything that is difficult that you're going through to pass more quickly. And like with that, I have this funky piece of hair, to pass by with less misery, trauma, getting yourself all worked up, basically. And I've already seen quite a few things where people are like, oh my gosh, they're going to do this thing. They're going to ban us and take us off of everything, or, whatever it is, alarmist things. If you read something, if you see something on TikTok, if you look at a news article, if you see anything and it makes you have that response, like that, oh no, I need to do something, or oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. Pause, take a pause, take some deep breaths, and then do some fact checking. Ask yourself if it makes sense, before you even react. Because I'm noticing that people are kind of reacting before they've given themselves time to process. Does this even seem legit? Um, that'll probably save you a lot of frustration, for sure. Awakening Mintaka Symposium. That is coming together. Very excited about the lineup for that. I should have a link up to register for the event next week, I would imagine. That is going to be happening on April 9th. The episode with Karen Rontowski talking about that will be up March 25th. Let's see. Really looking forward to the animal communication workshop on Sunday. I'm going to do something that I haven't done yet in a group setting or live, which is just talk with the animal realm for you in whatever capacity you ask me to at the time. Let's see what else. Really good energy reading today, and it talked about pretty much everything I'm saying. It was very validating that it just kind of was like, yeah, you already know, so just go tell them some more. Staying centered in love and in awareness of your ability to co-create, your ability to build the new world with your focused enjoyment of life. Co-creation. A lot of people would have called it manifestation and whatnot before, and they still do sometimes, and that's fine too. But what I'm talking about, it's a little more than just attracting things to yourself that you want, either through desire or will. It is speaking, dreaming, singing, feeling things into existence, and be very, very aware. And this doesn't mean you have to watch every thought you have or everything you say, but let's say you are having a conversation with someone and you know it's a little important. There's an opportunity to ask yourself, in this exchange with this person, what am I putting out into the world right now? These things are happening so fast. You are going to start noticing more and more examples of what feels like instant manifestation or instant materialization of your co-creation with the universe. And that is because we are getting more and more connected. We are continuing to expand. The crystalline grid is getting stronger. More and more people are waking up. And because of how much you have all expanded, your words, your heart's desires are powerful. And I'm trying to think of any examples right off the top of my head right now, but I can't. But I've been having this experience constantly where, and sometimes it's not always a positive one. It's like I'll mention something that is unpleasant and I don't want back in my life. And then the next thing you know, there it is, because I was just talking about how great it was that was gone. So it's important to be aware of that. It's important to be aware of what you're putting out there. pardon me for a moment. I'm going to text my child and tell him the food is here. He just finished all of his last little bit of senior high school work and is officially graduated. So that's really exciting. And I am putting together a trip next month. Expect lots and lots of great photos, maybe. I don't know if they don't let you film or not when you're in there. But I am going to take him to the Van Gogh and the Frida Kahlo immersives in Denver next month. Very, very excited about that. So for this next month, as we're getting past this portal, this period of time and moving into spring, know that it's just going to get easier and easier. If you happen to be in an area where there is intense, heavy weather expected, you can be practicing your love expansion or your grid work to shield your area. One of the things that I am noticing is that while events seem to be more extreme, somehow less people are being hurt during them. So that's another example to me of how this intention that we know if we're doing this, there's probably 100 times as many people as us in other areas doing the same thing, or in other groups talking about the same things and working on that. So that is really exciting. Let's see. Last thing, I added a new offering, which I wanted to explain a little more. Gaia sessions. This is basically what I've been good at my whole life, which is being the witness and the comfort for someone sharing their story, unburdening themselves with whatever it is that they feel like they need to talk out but don't want to do with a therapist or with anybody in their circle because they need that private, safe, comforting space. So you talk with me, tell me, what you're going through or what you need to let go of and release in a very loving, supportive container, bubble with me, and that mama bear energy and Gaia taking that all from you. And then at the same time, once you've expressed what you needed to and we've gone through that, then I use octanol healing, toning towards the end of the session as channeled to me to help clear and release those emotions and trapped experiences in your body. So that, of course, like everything else, is included under the Patreon. And if you would like to try that out, that is there. I think maybe that might be it for this week. I think that's enough. Like, I don't want to hit you with a whole lot of stuff because I think everybody's already getting hit with a whole lot of stuff. The one thing I will finish up with. So today, what I noticed, and I actually had a little conversation with Brittany Porter about this. What I was noticing today, once I had processed through some dense emotions and feelings I was kind of writing out the last few days, is that I got into this state of unity consciousness and full embodiment where it was almost like it was a bit like being so in the present moment that it wouldn't have mattered what I was doing, what was going on, whether I was cleaning the toilet or having a gourmet dinner. I was still going to be having this feeling of bliss and peace. And the interesting thing about it is I was so fully in that state and just allowing everything to flow through me, because I know that I am integrating a lot of stuff and getting a lot of downloads, that I could not, like, Brittany was trying to ask me some questions, and I'm like, I don't now. All I know is right now, I am fully the most now I've ever been. And I think being able to cultivate that feeling more and more is one of the secrets to riding out this storm that we're currently going through. But I do feel like things are getting ready to shift in a way that takes away some of this density and struggle that we've had. But I really feel like this has just been friction for all of you and all of the other wonderful butterflies out there who are emerging from new chrysalises. Is that the word? Chrysalises? Anyway, I'm going to stop the recording and then chat with a couple of the peeps here. And feel free to leave any questions and comments. And I hope to see you guys Sunday, if you can make it, you folks, because I would love to get to know your animals more and help you have that ability and way to communicate with nature. Because the cool thing about it is that they've, they're already upgraded. They're just waiting for us to catch up. So it can be pretty exciting, fulfilling, and just help expand that intuition even more to open yourself up to communicating with their consciousness too. And I know that some of you haven't been feeling good. You've, been going through stuff either with jobs, relationships, health, all of those kinds of things. And so I wish you so much love, and that everything smooths over soon and you start to feel the forward momentum of things going where you want them to in your life. And I look forward to talking with you all during our sessions next month.